The sun never set on. Kepler 442b. The mining colony lived under the glow of artificial lights that made the rocky landscape look orange and cold. Jake Martinez wiped sweat from his face as he worked on the massive drilling machine. His hands were dirty with grease and dust. He had been on this planet for 3 years now, trying to make enough money to send home to Earth. Jake looked at his watch. It was almost time for the children to finish their lessons. His 12-year-old son, Alex, would be coming to find him soon. The boy always did that after school. He would run through the mining tunnels, his footsteps echoing off the metal walls. Mining Colony was home to about 500 people from different planets. Most were humans like Jake, but there were also tall blue aliens called Zenthari, bug-like creatures called Kithara, and the scary gray ones called Valkyrians, who ran everything. The Valkyrians were in charge because they owned the mining company. They made all the rules and everyone else had to follow them. Lisa Park finished checking the health reports at the medical center. She was the main doctor for all the human workers. Her 10-year-old daughter Emma was probably playing with the other kids right now. Lisa smiled thinking about Emma's laugh. It was the best sound in this cold place. Ben Carter was in the food-growing area, checking the plants that fed the colony. His 14-year-old son, Tyler, was the oldest of the human kids. Tyler was smart and helped teach the younger ones sometimes. Ben was proud of his son, but worried about him too. This was no place for children to grow up. The human children had made their own little world in the colony. There was Alex Martinez with his wild brown hair and curious eyes. Emma Park, who loved to draw pictures of the strange plants they grew. Tyler Carter, who read every book he could find. There was also 10-year-old Sam Wilson, who could fix anything with his small hands. 9-year-old Katie Lopez, who told the best stories. And 8-year-old Danny Clark, who was always getting into trouble but made everyone laugh. They played together in the safe areas of the colony. The adults tried to keep them away from the dangerous mining equipment, but kids will be kids. They were curious about everything. On this day, the children were playing a game of hide and seek. Danny was running fast, trying to find a good hiding spot. He saw an opening in the wall that looked perfect. He squeezed through it and found himself in a room full of shiny machines. The other kids followed him. They had never seen this room before. It was full of computer screens and beeping sounds. Alex touched one of the screens, and it lit up with bright colors. Emma laughed and touched another one. Soon all the kids were pressing buttons and watching the pretty lights. They did not know that this room controlled the main mining drill, the biggest and most expensive machine in the whole colony. When Tyler accidentally pulled a lever, alarms started ringing everywhere. The massive drill outside began to shake and spin in the wrong direction. Workers started running and shouting. Jake heard the alarms and dropped his tools. Lisa ran out of the medical center. Ben came running from the plant area. All the parents were scared and confused. The drill crashed into the side of the mountain. Rocks fell everywhere. The machine that cost millions of credits was now broken and twisted. Smoke rose from its engine. The noise was terrible. Commander Zefka, the Valkyrian in charge of the colony, came stomping through the tunnels. He was 7 feet tall with gray skin and angry red eyes. His voice was like grinding metal when he spoke. Who did this? He demanded. Who destroyed our equipment? The children were found hiding in the control room. They were scared and crying. Alex tried to explain that they were just playing, but Commander Zithka was not listening. He was only thinking about the money they had lost. These human children have caused great damage, he said to the crowd of workers that had gathered. They have cost us millions of credits. They have put everyone in danger. Jake stepped forward. Commander, they are just kids. They did not mean to hurt anything. Let me pay for the damage. I will work extra shifts, No, Commander Zethka said. His voice was cold and angry. This requires proper punishment. These children will learn what happens when they break the law. Lisa pushed through the crowd. You cannot punish children like adults. They are too young to understand. They are old enough to cause damage, the commander replied. They are. Old enough to face justice. Then tried to reason with him. Please, Commander, let us handle this. We will make sure it never happens again. But Commander Zethka had already made up his mind. He wanted to show everyone what happened when someone cost him money. He wanted to make an example that would scare all the workers into being more careful. These 6 human children are guilty of destroying colony property, he announced. They will be sentenced to detention in the maximum security facility. They will stay there until they learn to respect the law. The parents were shocked. The other workers looked scared. Even some of the alien workers seemed uncomfortable. Maximum security was for dangerous criminals, not children. You cannot do this, Jake said, his voice shaking with anger and fear. I can and I will, Commander Zethka replied. Take them away. The Velkarian guards grabbed the children. Alex reached for his father, but the guards pulled him back. Emma was crying for her mother. Tyler tried to stay brave, but his hands were shaking. The younger kids were too scared to even cry. The parents tried to follow, but more guards blocked their way. They could only watch as their children were taken down the dark tunnels toward the prison section of the colony. The maximum security cells were built for adult criminals. They were small, cold, and dark. Each child was put in a separate cell, with thick metal walls. The beds were hard and uncomfortable. The food was basic prison rations that tasted like cardboard. Alex sat on his narrow bed and stared at the walls. He could hear Emma crying in the cell next to his. Tyler was trying to stay calm, but even he was scared. They were just kids who had made a mistake while playing. Now they were being treated like dangerous criminals. Jake stood outside the prison area, but the guards would not let him see his son. Lisa begged to be allowed to check on the children's health, but she was refused. Ben tried to bring them better food, but it was taken away. The human parents felt helpless. They were just workers on this alien planet. They had no power to fight against the Velkarians. Their children were trapped, and there was nothing they could do about it. In their cells. The children tried to stay brave. They talked to each other through the walls when the guards were not listening. They shared stories and tried to keep each other's spirits up. But they were scared and alone, locked away from everything they knew and loved. Commander Zethka was satisfied with his punishment. He thought it would teach everyone a lesson about respecting his authority. He did not know that word of what he had done was already spreading beyond the colony, reaching ears that would not be happy to hear it. Kesvel could not sleep. The tall blue alien walked through the quiet tunnels of the mining colony, thinking about what she had seen. As a Xanthari trade representative, she had worked with many species across the galaxy. But what Commander Zethka had done to the human children made her feel sick. The Xanthari were known for their strong emotions and deep care for others. They could feel the pain of other beings, even if they were different species. Kesvel had felt the fear and sadness of the human children like a knife in her heart. She had to do something. She went to her private communication room and turned on the long-range transmitter. The blue lights flickered as she connected to the Xanthari homeworld, billions of miles away. Her leader, High Empath Velandra, appeared on the screen. Kesvel, you look troubled, Velandra said in their musical language. What has happened? The human children, Kesvel replied. They have been put in maximum security prison for an accident. They are babies, no more than 14 years old. They are scared and alone. Valandra's large eyes grew wide with shock. Children? In adult prison? This cannot be true. I have seen it myself, Casvel said. The Velcarian commander cares only about money. He does not understand that children are precious gifts that must be protected. Send me all the details, Velandra ordered. This news must reach the Galactic Council immediately. While Casvel was making her report, another alien was watching from the shadows. Hive Speaker Chalk was an insectoid Kithara with 6 arms and large compound eyes. Despite looking like a giant bug, Chalk had a gentle soul and loved all young creatures. The Kithara lived in huge communities where everyone worked together to protect their young. They believed that children of any species were the future of the galaxy. Hurting a child was the worst crime possible in their culture. Chalk had been recording everything that happened in the colony. The Kithara were excellent at gathering information. They had cameras and listening devices everywhere, but they used them to keep everyone safe, not to spy on them. Chalk sent an emergency message to the Kithara High Hive. The message traveled through space at the speed of light, reaching the insect homeworld in hours. Queen Mother Zektar received the message while she was caring for thousands of Kithara babies. This is an attack on all children everywhere, she declared to her council. We must act quickly to save these human young ones. The news spread even faster through the Kithara hive mind network. Within minutes, millions of Kithara across space knew about the imprisoned human children. They began preparing aid packages and demanding justice. Not far away in the deep oceans of Aquatica Prime, another alien learned about the situation. Deep Current Flows was a member of the Aquatic Federation, beings who lived their entire lives underwater. They rarely got involved in the affairs of land-dwelling species, but Deep Current Flows had been studying human behavior for years. Aquatic Alien was fascinated by how human children learned and grew. Unlike many species who were born with most of their knowledge, human children had to learn everything slowly over many years. Human children are like our own younglings, Deep Current Flows said to the Federation Council. They need care, protection, and time to develop. What the Velcarians have done is like taking baby fish from their parents and throwing them into the darkest depths. The Aquatic Federation had never interfered in land-based politics before, but they controlled the water supplies for dozens of star systems. If they wanted to make a point, they could cut off water to entire planets. On the crystal world of Harmonia, the Resonance Collective felt vibrations of distress echoing through space. These beings were made of living crystal and could sense emotions from far away. The pain of the human children reached them like a terrible song. Crystal singer Vextone called an emergency gathering. Thousands of crystal beings came together, their bodies ringing like bells in the thin air. We hear the cries of the small humans, Vextone sang. Their pain creates discord in the cosmic harmony. We must help restore balance. The Resonance Collective began broadcasting on all communication frequencies. Their crystal voices carried the story of the imprisoned children across the galaxy. Every ship, every space station, every planet with a radio heard their message. The most surprising response came from the ethereal conclave. These beings were made of pure energy and rarely took physical form. They existed mostly in space between the stars, watching over the galaxy like distant guardians. The conclave had been studying humanity for decades. They were amazed by how quickly humans could adapt to new situations. Human children especially impressed them because they could learn from mistakes and become stronger. Speaker of Light, Veil Beyond Stars gathered energy from a nearby star and formed a glowing body. It was the first time in a century that the conclave had taken physical form. The human children represent something special, Veil Beyond Stars announced to the other energy beings. They learn not just facts, but wisdom. They grow not just in size, but in understanding. To imprison them is to hurt the future of all species. Within hours, the story had spread to every corner of known space. The Reptilian Union was angry. The Mechanical Collective was calculating damages. The Plant Federation was wrestling with worry. Even the mysterious Shadow Dwellers, who usually stayed hidden, were asking questions. Back on the mining colony, the human children were trying to stay brave. Alex had found a small crack in his cell wall where he could see a tiny bit of light. Emma was drawing pictures on the dusty floor with her finger. Tyler was telling stories through the walls to keep everyone calm. They did not know that their situation had become the biggest news in the galaxy. They did not know that powerful aliens were preparing to come to their rescue. They only knew that they were scared and wanted to go home. Jake Martinez stood outside the prison area again, begging the guards to let him see his son. The Valkyrian guards just laughed at him. They thought humans were weak and unimportant. They had no idea that the most powerful beings in the galaxy were already on their way. Lisa Park had tried to contact Earth, but the Valkyrians blocked all human communications. She did not know that she did not need to call for help. Help was already coming from species she had never even heard of. Ben Carter was organizing the other human workers. They were planning to protest, to demand the release of their children. But their small voices would soon be joined by a chorus of alien species that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. Commander Zeth Ka was in his office, counting the money he would save by making the children work off their debt. He was proud of his harsh punishment. He thought it showed how strong and decisive he was. He had no idea that his actions had started something that would change everything. The galaxy was waking up, and it was very, very angry about what had been done to 6 innocent human children. The rescue was coming, and it would be bigger than anyone could imagine. The first ship to arrive was not what anyone expected. The Xanthari vessel Harmony's Grace dropped out of hyperspace just outside the mining colony's orbit. It was a beautiful ship, white and blue like a piece of the sky. But today it carried an angry crew. Captain Velkes stood on the bridge, her blue skin darker than usual with emotion. She had brought medical supplies, food, and toys for the human children. But more importantly, she had brought lawyers from the Galactic Council. Open communications to the mining colony. She ordered her crew. It is time to demand justice. Commander. Zethka was eating his breakfast when the message came through. He nearly choked on his food when he saw the Xanthari ship on his screen. What were they doing here? The Xanthari never got involved in business matters. This is Captain Velkes of the Xanthari Republic, came the voice through the speaker. We demand the immediate release of the human children. What you have done violates 17 different galactic laws about the treatment of minors. Commander. Zethka laughed. These are internal colony matters. You have no authority here. We have filed formal charges with the Galactic Council, Velkes replied. Criminal charges for child abuse, unlawful imprisonment, and violation of species rights. You will answer for your crimes. Before Commander Zethka could respond more, ships began appearing in space. A massive Kethara vessel, called the Protective Swarm, arrived, its hull covered in what looked like metal honeycomb. It was followed by 3 smaller ships loaded with supplies. Hive Speaker Chalk sent a message. To the colony. We have brought medical equipment, proper food for growing children, and educational materials. The human young ones will receive proper care whether you cooperate or not. Commander Zethka was starting to feel nervous. 2 alien species was unusual, but not impossible to handle. Then the water ships arrived. The Aquatic Federation had never sent ships to a land-based colony before. But 3 of their vessels, looking like giant metal fish, took position near the mining station. Deep current flows sent a simple message that made Commander Zethka's blood run cold. All water supplies to Valkyrian space had been cut off immediately. This embargo will continue until the human children are free and safe. Water was the most precious resource in space. Every ship, every station, every planet needed it to survive. The Aquatic Federation controlled the largest water sources in the galaxy. Without their cooperation, the Valkyrian economy would collapse in weeks. But the real shock came when the ethereal conclave arrived. A being of pure light appeared in the colony's main communication center. Workers ran away screaming as Veil Beyond Stars took physical form in front of them. "I am here to see the human children," the energy being announced. "I will judge for myself what has been done to them." Commander Zethka had never seen an ethereal before. Few beings in the galaxy had. They were considered almost like gods by some species. What were they doing here for some human children? "You cannot interfere with colony business," he said, but his voice was shaking. "I can and I will," Veil Beyond Stars replied. "These children are under our protection now." More ships kept arriving. The Reptilian Union sent a battle cruiser. The Mechanical Collective dispatched a fleet of robot ships. The Plant Federation grew a living vessel in space and sent it to join the others. Even the mysterious Shadow Dwellers revealed themselves, their dark ships appearing like holes in space. Jake Martinez stood at the viewing port, watching the ships arrive. He had never seen so many different alien vessels in one place. His heart was pounding with hope and fear. Were they here to help? Or would this make things worse for the children? Lisa Park was called to the communication center. The Zenthari had doctors who wanted to speak with her about the children's health. She ran through the corridors, faster than she had ever moved before. "Dr. Park," Captain Velkes said when Lisa arrived, "we need to know about the children's condition. Are they hurt? Are they sick?" "They are scared and alone," Lisa replied. "They need proper food, medical care, and most of all, they need to be with their families." "We have brought everything they need," Velkes said. "But first we must get them out of that prison." Ben Carter was in the food storage area when the Cathara supplies arrived. Robot drones carried boxes of fresh food, vitamin supplements, and special meals designed for growing children. The Cathara had studied human nutrition and knew exactly what the kids needed. "This is more food than we have seen in months," Ben said to Hive Speaker Chak. "Thank you." "No species should let their young suffer," Chak replied. "We protect all children, not just our own." The Galactic Council was in emergency session. Representatives from 43 different species had gathered to discuss the situation. It was the largest emergency meeting in galactic history. High Counselor Nantor, a wise old being from the oldest species in the galaxy, called for order. "We are here to discuss the unlawful imprisonment of 6 human children," he announced. "This is not just a human problem. This is a threat to all our young." Species after species stood up to condemn the Valkyrians. The crystalline singers played, haunting melodies about the pain of separated families. The Gas Cloud Collective pulsed with angry colors. The Timekeepers, who rarely spoke in council, declared that this moment would be remembered as a dark point in galactic history. The Valkyrian representative, Sub-Commander Hecknall, tried to defend his species' actions. "The humans damaged expensive equipment," he said. "They must pay for their crimes." "They are children," shouted the representative from the feathered flights. "Children make mistakes. That is how they learn. In our culture, we would celebrate children who are brave enough to explore," added the cave dweller delegate. "We would not punish them for their curiosity." The vote was swift and decisive. 42 species voted to condemn the Valkyrians and demand immediate action. Only the Valkyrians voted to support their own position. Back at the mining colony, Commander Zethka was receiving angry messages from his own government. The Valkyrian High Command was furious with him. The water embargo was already causing problems on their homeworld. Trade routes were being cut off. Other species were refusing to do business with them. "You have brought shame on our entire species," High Commander Vector told him over a secure communication. "Fix this immediately or face the consequences." But Commander Zethkal was too proud to admit he was wrong. He ordered more guards around the prison area and refused to let anyone see the children. The alien ships in orbit began coordinating their response. The Xanthari were preparing legal documents. The Kithara were organizing medical teams. The Aquatic Federation was expanding their embargo to include all. Velkarian colonies. The ethereal conclave did something that shocked everyone. They began to glow brighter, drawing energy from the system's star. The light was so bright that it could be seen from the planet's surface. "We are prepared to use force if necessary," Veil Beyond Stars announced. "The children will be freed, one way or another." Inside their cells, the human children could hear strange sounds echoing through the colony. There were new voices speaking in languages they had never heard before. The guards seemed nervous and kept whispering to each other. Alex pressed his ear to the wall. "Do you hear that?" He whispered to Emma in the next cell. "It sounds like help is coming," Emma whispered back. Tyler was trying to stay calm, but he could feel something big was happening. The energy in the air was different. Even little Danny had stopped crying and was listening to the strange sounds. Did not know that the entire galaxy was watching their situation. They did not know that the most powerful beings in known space were preparing to rescue them. They only knew that for the first time in days, they had hope. The rescue was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same. Dr. Vel Kess had been studying the medical data for hours. The Xanthari scientist could not believe what she was seeing. She called her research team together in the main laboratory of their ship. "Look at these readings," she said, pointing to the glowing charts on the wall. "The human children are doing something we have never seen before." The other Xanthari scientists gathered around the display. The data showed brain scans, blood tests, and energy readings from the imprisoned children. But there was something strange in the numbers. "Their brain activity is different from adult humans," said Dr. Kessmore. "Even under stress, they continue to develop new connections. Their minds are still growing and changing." "That is not unusual for young beings," replied Dr. Veltam. "Many species continue growing until adulthood." "No, this is different, Doctor," Vel Kess insisted. "Human children do not just grow bigger. They become smarter, more creative, more able to solve problems. Look at these scans from other species." She showed them brain scans from young Xanthari, Kithara, and other aliens. Most species were born with almost complete brains. They learned facts and skills, but their basic thinking patterns stayed the same. "Human children are born with incomplete brains," Dr. Velkes explained. "They must build their thinking abilities over many years. This makes them incredibly adaptable. They can learn to solve problems that would confuse adults of other species." Meanwhile, in the Kithara research ship, Hive Speaker Chuck was making his own discoveries. The insect-like aliens had been monitoring the human children's behavior through hidden cameras in the prison. "Observe this," Chuck said to his fellow researchers. "Even in prison, the human young ones care for each other. They share food, tell stories, and try to keep each other brave." The Kithara watched as Tyler Carter, the oldest human child, divided his small portion of food among the younger children. They saw Emma Park drawing pictures on the cell walls to make her friends smile. They watched Alex Martinez singing quiet songs to help Danny Clark fall asleep. "This is remarkable," said worker drone Kektal. "Most species protect their own young first, but these humans protect all the young ones equally." "It is more than that," Chuck replied. "They are building a new family structure inside the prison. They are adapting to survive together." The biggest discovery came from the ethereal conclave. Veil Beyond Stars had been studying the energy fields around the human children. What the being found was so important that it called for an emergency. Meeting of all the alien ship's representatives from every species gathered in the main conference room of the Zentari ship, the ethereal being manifested in the center of the room, glowing with soft light. We have discovered why so many species felt called to help these children, Veil Beyond Stars announced. Human young ones emit a unique energy signature that we have never seen before. The alien representatives leaned forward with interest. Energy signatures were important in galactic science. They showed the life force and potential of different beings. All species emit energy, continued Veil Beyond Stars. But human children emit what we call growth energy. This energy actually helps other beings around them heal and develop. Dr. Velkes spoke up. That would explain the medical reports from the mining colony. Workers who spent time around the human children showed improved health, better healing from injuries, and increased mental clarity. The children do not know they are doing this, Veil Beyond Stars said. It is natural for them. They're developing. Brains create energy waves that promote growth and healing in others. Hive speaker Chalk buzzed with excitement. This is why we felt such a strong need to protect them. Their energy was calling to our protective instincts. Deep current flows, speaking through a water-filled communication device, added his thoughts. In our oceans, we have creatures that help the whole ecosystem just by existing. These human children are like that for the galaxy. The revelation was shocking. Human children were not just cute and innocent. They were actually helping other species without even knowing it. Their presence made everyone around them stronger and healthier. There is more, Veil Beyond Stars continued. Our studies show that human children who experience hardship often develop even stronger abilities. They learn to overcome problems in ways that benefit entire communities. The alien representatives were amazed. They had thought they were just helping innocent children. Now they learned that these children were helping them too. Back in the prison, the human children were experiencing something strange. Despite their fear and sadness, they were growing stronger. Alex was figuring out how to communicate with children in other cells by tapping codes on the walls. Emma was creating art that somehow made everyone feel better. Tyler was remembering every story he had ever heard and using them to teach lessons about hope and courage. Even the Valkyrian guards were being affected. Guard Captain Zolhek found himself being gentler with the children than his orders required. He brought them extra water and sometimes stayed to listen to their stories. He did not understand why he felt the need to protect them. These human young ones are different, he told his fellow guards. They do not fight or cause trouble. They just try to take care of each other. Commander Zethka says they are dangerous. Criminals, replied Guard Trooper Vekmel. They are just scared children, Zolhek said. I have seen dangerous criminals. These are not criminals. Dr. Velkes had been studying the guards too. Her scanners showed that the Valkyrians, who spent time near the human children, were showing signs of increased empathy and reduced aggression. The children's energy was actually making their captors more gentle. This is incredible, she reported to Captain Velkes. The human children are unconsciously trying to heal the beings who hurt them. They cannot help but try to make things better. The alien scientists began sharing their data with each other. The Zenthari provided emotional and psychological studies. The Kithara shared behavioral observations. The Aquatic Federation contributed research on development and growth patterns. The Ethereal Conclave offered energy field analysis. Together, they built a complete picture of what made human children special. They were not just young humans waiting to become adults. They were unique beings with the ability to adapt, learn, and help others in ways that no other species could match. We must preserve this gift, declared High Empath Valandra in a message from the Zenthari homeworld. These children represent something precious that the galaxy needs. The Kithara Queen Mother agreed. They are the future of cooperation between species. We must protect them at all costs. Even the usually practical mechanical collective was impressed. Their problem-solving abilities exceed our calculations, reported Logic Unit Prime 7. They find solutions that our computers cannot predict. The revelation changed everything. This was no longer just about rescuing imprisoned children. This was about protecting a treasure that belonged to the entire galaxy. Commander Zethka was about to learn that he had not just broken the law. He had threatened something that every species in the galaxy considered sacred. The human children were not just victims anymore. They were the key to understanding how different species could live and work together. The rescue was no longer just about justice. It was about saving the future of galactic civilization itself. The rescue fleet moved into position around the mining colony like a wall of justice. 43 different species had sent their best ships. The sky above the colony was filled with vessels of every shape and size, all united for one purpose. Counselor Nemtor's voice came through every communication system on the mining station. His words were calm, but carried the weight of galactic law. Commander Zethka, you have 1 hour to release the human children and surrender yourself for trial. If you refuse, we will take action to secure their freedom. Commander Zethka sat in his office, staring at the screens showing all the alien ships. His hands were shaking. He had never imagined that imprisoning 6 human children would bring the entire galaxy down on his head. Sub-Commander Hecknow burst into the office. Commander, our homeworld is demanding that we end this immediately. The water embargo has caused riots on 3 Valkyrian planets. Our people are dying of thirst. I cannot show weakness, Commander Zethka replied, but his voice was uncertain. Sir, this is not about weakness anymore. This is about survival. Our entire species is suffering because of what you did to those children. Outside in the colony corridors, the human parents were gathering with other workers. Jake Martinez held a sign that read, "Free our children." Lisa Park was organizing a peaceful protest. Ben Carter was trying to coordinate with the alien ships overhead. The Valkyrian guards were confused and scared. Many of them had children of their own back home. Guard Captain Zolhek approached his commander with a heavy heart. Sir, I request permission to release the human children, he said. They have done nothing to deserve this treatment. You will follow orders, Commander Zethka snapped. No one enters or leaves that prison. But Zolhek had been thinking about his own young son back on the Valkyrian homeworld. What if alien soldiers imprisoned his child? What if his son was scared and crying in a cold cell? No, sir, Zolhek said quietly. I will not follow orders. That hurt innocent children. He turned and walked toward the prison, his key card in his hand. Other guards followed him. They had all been affected by the children's energy. They all wanted to do the right thing. In space, the ethereal conclave was preparing for something unprecedented. Veil beyond stars gathered energy from the nearby star until its light was blinding. The being was ready to use force if necessary. If the children are not released in 30 minutes, we will take direct action, the energy being announced. We will not allow this injustice to continue. The Zenthari ship moved closer to the mining station. Captain Vel Kess had medical teams ready to treat the children. The Kithara vessel deployed healing drones. The Aquatic Federation prepared to flood the prison area if needed to wash away the guards. Commander Zethka was running out of time and options. His own government was threatening to remove him from command. His guards were refusing to follow orders. The most powerful beings in the galaxy were preparing to attack his station. Then he made the biggest mistake of his life. He ordered his remaining loyal guards to use the children as shields. If any alien ship approaches the prison, we will harm the human young ones. He announced over the communication system. The response was immediate and terrifying. Every alien ship in the fleet powered up their weapons. The ethereal conclave's light became so bright that it hurt to look at. The Zenthari began singing a war song that had not been heard for 1,000 years. "You have crossed the final line," High Counselor Nemtor said, his ancient voice filled with rage. "Threatening children is an act of war against all civilized species." But before the alien fleet could attack, something unexpected happened. The human children themselves took action. Alex Martinez had been listening to the communications through a crack in the wall. He understood that his friends were in danger because of him. He began tapping on the walls, using the code he had developed to talk to the other children. "We need to get out of here," he tapped to Tyler Carter. "The guards are planning to hurt." U.S. Tyler was the oldest and strongest of the children. He had been studying the lock on his cell door for days. He noticed that it was old and rusty. Using a piece of metal from his bed frame, he began working on the lock. Emma Park heard the tapping and began passing the message to the other children. Soon all 6 children were working together to escape their cells. They used their problem-solving abilities and creativity to find ways out. Danny Clark, despite being the youngest, squeezed through a ventilation shaft and unlocked Tyler's cell from the outside. Katie Lopez used her storytelling skills to distract the guards while Sam Wilson fixed the electronic locks on the other cells. Within minutes, all 6 children were free and moving through the prison corridors. They had done what no adult prisoner had ever accomplished. They had escaped from maximum security using nothing but their intelligence and teamwork. Guard Captain Zoel Heck found them first. He was supposed to capture them, but instead he knelt down to their level. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently. "Do you need help?" The children were surprised. This was the first time a Valkarian had spoken to them with kindness. "We want to go home," Emma said simply. "Then I will take you home," Zoel Heck replied. He led them toward the main entrance of the prison, where their parents were waiting. The reunion was beautiful and heartbreaking. Jake Martinez hugged his son Alex so tightly he could barely breathe. Lisa Park cried as she held Emma. Ben Carter lifted Tyler off the ground and spun him around. The other parents embraced their children with joy and relief that the alien ships in orbit began celebrating. The Zenthari sang songs of joy. The Kithara performed victory dances. The Aquatic Federation created beautiful water displays in space. Even the mysterious shadow dwellers revealed themselves completely, showing their happiness. Commander Zethka was arrested by galactic peacekeepers who had arrived with the fleet. He would face trial for child abuse, unlawful imprisonment, and threatening the lives of minors. His actions had united the galaxy against him. The mining colony was placed under the protection of the Galactic Council. The human families were given the choice to stay or leave. Most chose to stay, but now they worked as equals with the other species. The children became heroes across the galaxy. They were invited to visit different worlds and speak to other young beings. They shared their story of courage, friendship, and forgiveness. Alex Martinez, now 13, stood before the Galactic Council 6 months later. He was no longer the scared boy who had been thrown in prison. He was confident and wise beyond his years. "We learned that different species can work together," he told the assembled representatives. "We learned that even when people hurt you, you can still choose to forgive them. We learned that children everywhere deserve protection and love." The Galactic Council voted unanimously to create the Universal Child Protection Act. It would ensure that no child of any species would ever suffer the way the human children had suffered. Humanity was offered full membership in the Galactic Council. They were not junior partners or probationary members. They were equals who had proven their worth through the strength and wisdom of their children. The human children continued to travel the galaxy, now as ambassadors of peace and understanding. They helped other species learn about cooperation, creativity, and the power of never giving up hope. Commander Zefka spent the rest of his life in prison, but even there, he was changed by what he had learned. He started programs to help other prisoners, inspired by the example of the human children who had forgiven him. The galaxy was a better place because 6 human children had shown everyone what it meant to be brave, kind, and strong. They had turned their worst experience into a lesson that would help protect all children forever. And in the end, that was the most human thing of all.